We had 3 dead and 1 wounded, 1971, I think. And then again in the demonstration of the Polytechnic, 1985, we had Michalis Kaltezas, a 15-year-old, being killed by the police. They will always hit, because, you know, remembrance is existence of resistance. When you remember, you know that this can happen again. They want us to forget. So every time we remember, we're building something, and we have to remember.
And there is, till today, even recently, underage children that were killed by the police here in Greece.
Yes. Michalis Kaltezas, as I told you, he was 15. Alexandros Grigoropoulos, whose name I saw in Chile when they were doing the demonstrations. And I took a picture and I was like, you know, because that connects us. They're killing the Chilean children and the Chilean youth, and they know that they killed someone in Greece, and it's a connection.
Hey everybody, this is Leif Maru from Free Palestine TV, and we are in Athens, the capital of Greece. Behind me is a special location we're going to be talking about today with our guest Lamprini Thoma, journalist and longtime journalist. You are one of the most read, I think, activist, revolutionary journalists in this country.
Trying to.
Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
I think the audience is going to hear a story that they haven't heard, especially ones who are not Greek. And we're here to talk about journalist rights. And you are the best guide for that here in the country. Tell us why you brought us, Lamprini, to this location.
Yeah, this building was a hotel, Hotel Acropole. At the time that the junta sent the tank in the university, in the Polytechnic, there was a Dutch journalist living here. And it was not the internet times, and it was not the small cameras, right? It was a big thing. So he started from his window filming the only 13 seconds we have that prove that they sent a tank. Because they tried to change history after that. They tried to change a lot of things. There are people who say they were not dead at the Polytechnic, you know. But this 13 minutes, 13 seconds, I think it is, not even minutes, gives us the reality of what happened then. And you would be at home, I was 9 years old at the time, and hear the voices of the students saying, our brothers, you soldiers, do not kill us. You are our brothers, don't do that. And you will see the tank from him, it's a very important moment.
And of course, this is the university, Polytechnic.
Yes.
And this was during the junta.
Yeah, it was the second uprising. The law school was the first one. Here they gathered after the law school, but it was the most well-known one because they decided they will kill them. They knew that they were ending. They knew that they were in their final days, I think. People couldn't get it anymore, but the students were the ones that were in front of the movement again. As always, I think, everywhere.
Yes.
And a nice thing, I'll tell you that. It's time before internet, right? In the gate where they have written out of NATO and things like that. America, we call it Φωνιάδες των λαών Americanos, you killers of peoples, Americans, and those things. They will write Thailand, because at the same time there was a student movement against the junta in Thailand.
In Thailand.
And you could see how they knew that we have to be internationalists.
Internationalists. And this, of course, the fact that the Flemish Dutch journalist Albert Courant, you know,
he was Flemish, yes.
Flemish. If he didn't catch this, it would be a lie. It's the same thing about Palestinians and Lebanese people filming their own death and the crimes being committed against them. If that didn't happen, the mainstream journalist and the Zionist and imperialist will deny those crimes happening.
We were lucky that this man existed there. We were lucky for our stories, for our history of who we are and where we come from. Because the kids in there were our predecessors, you know? And the ones outside were the enemy, as always.
Yes. And the students have the passion, the energy to move societies forward
Yes.
as we get older. But not me and you, but other people getting older, sometimes their fire gets tempered.
I'm ready to become a grandma. If my son hears that, I'm ready to become a grandma.
Oh, wow. but you will be a revolutionary grandma.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
This
I'll tell you this. I was 9 years old, as I told you. And I had no idea that we had a Hyundai. You know, people were not talking politics. You couldn't. So one day after the tank went in, our doctor, family doctor, who was in the left, comes home. He went to all the homes that he could trust the people and asks my mother for any kind of medicine we have so he can bring it here to the students in here. And I realized that some bad people were in the government because our doctor was crying, Gavoyanis was his name, saying to my mom, they're killing our children. And you could realize that there was something bad happening because good people were crying, you know? You're a kid. So, but it's my memories from that time.
You know, sometimes revolutionaries are thought of as harsh people that don't have emotions, but most of the time the revolutionaries are the most empathetic people that feel the pain that most of us don't feel of every injustice around us. And we are right now in the Polytechnic.
We're in the Polytechnic, yes.
You know, in Lebanon, they don't allow you inside any university if you're not a student or a professor.
We're always students of life, right?
Yes,
so
yes. And so because of the revolutionary movements that used to exist in the AUB, the American University of Beirut, and others, and the community and the students will be able to mingle. Now they have isolated completely the students from the rest of society. I don't know how.
It's the same here. When I finished university, actually I'm a vet by profession, but I finished university in Thessaloniki, about 500 kilometers from here. And there were no kagela, no iron border around the university. You could move freely. And when I was finishing, end of 80s, they would put all those iron things around.
Gates,
the gates. So people will not be able to get freely in the university. And now they have police in the university.
In the 1969 student uprisings in Paris and all around the world that followed, we saw how the French government on purpose broke down the campuses and separated the engineers from the social sciences, from the doctors in different parts of the city. So nobody of these student bodies can have a comprehensive view of the oppressive regimes that we live under. Did this happen also here in Greece, where they separated the campuses depending on the kind of studies?
Later on, they took them from the center of the city, which is the same.
The same.
If you take the university from the center of the city, you take it out of the heart of people.
Yeah.
This school was, until the 90s, a place that we will come and take over whenever injustice was done. You cannot do that now. The students are not here.
Yeah.
And it was a symbol, so they wouldn't be able to send the police in. They did it actually sometimes, but yeah. There it says, Metsovion Polytechnion, Polytechnic.
And it's now not being used for
as a school, no.
So
no.
what are they using this historic
offices and stuff like that
for the administration? Wow. So they stripped it of its utility to the people.
Yeah. They don't want they want elites. And when you want an elite, you're not allowing the university to be a people's place. And even although our universities are still free, now we have private universities too, but you can go to the university. The working class people who go to schools that are cheaper or are near home. They cannot go to another city. They can be doctors if they have to go to like Alexandroupoli and pay rent for their kids. So there's a class thing there too. You cannot, I mean.
Yeah. And behind the Rabieh now is the gate where the tanks crashed through.
Yes,
and
that's not the original one. The original one is here.
Yes.
You're gonna see it now. And it's very moving.
And it's been preserved. Luckily, it's not one of the things that they stripped this space of. Wow.
That's the door.
What do you think will happen if they try to remove this?
Oh, no, nobody would allow that. But they have their way. They take soul out of monuments, or they create monuments to take the soul out of people. They're creating monuments that sometimes are dead.
Yeah.
You know, why is it in here? Why is not there? Why is not there? Why couldn't we like pass by it and remember every day? No.
It's hidden.
Why
in the
you don't
behind,
have you don't have
trees.
students here to see it every day, to remember the connection? No.
And this head, do we know what it's about?
This is the memorial for the students who fought here and who fought here.
Wow.
For the people, because they were not only students, they were workers too.
How many students and workers were martyred that day?
19. Wow. 19.
God bless their soul. I know most people that are going to be watching us from Greece don't care about God.
But I care.
Yes. No.
I respect people who, because of faith, become revolutionaries in their own way. And that's very important, because common people always have faith.
Yes.
Those who think that common people do not have faith are stupid.
Yes. This is where we need to probably educate our own movements about how to be with the people and not separate ourselves from think we're higher in knowledge or understanding than the people who are living the reality that we want to supposedly better.
I have a friend, his father was a professor at the university, communist, he went to prison, but he was rich, the family was rich. And his mother would take him while everybody was in prison to go to working class people, communists, to give money or give food, you know, to help the people. And he will say, the only home that there were no icons of sense was ours. Because, yeah, it's a class thing too, you know?
Yes, yes, yes. And this repression of journalists didn't end with this attack. I mean, obviously, the beginnings of that repression was against this Dutch journalist, but he was let go.
He was foreigner, yeah.
Yeah, because he was
show
foreigner.
What happened.
And then the local Greek journalists had to suffer, obviously.
Yeah, the things didn't change from one day to the other. You couldn't do that. I remember that for years, the demonstration of the Polytechnic on November 17 was forbidden. We couldn't do that. We have to skip school without our parents knowing, to go. We were bad girls and boys to do that. So, and then when PASOK came, after 81, 82, it started being legal to do the demonstration, to commemorate the Polytechnic. Yeah. They will kill people. We had 3 dead and 1 wounded, 1971, I think. And then again in the demonstration of the Polytechnic, 1985, we had Michalis Kaltezas, a 15-year-old, being killed by the police. They will always hit, because, you know, remembrance is existence of resistance. When you remember, you know that this can happen again. They want us to forget. So every time we remember, we're building something, and we have to remember.
And there is, till today, even recently, underage children that were killed by the police here in Greece.
Yes, Michalis Kaltezas, as I told you, he was 15. Alexandros Grigoropoulos, whose name I saw in Chile when they were doing the demonstrations. And I took a picture and I was like, you know, because that connects us. They're killing the Chilean children and the Chilean youth, and they know that they killed someone in Greece, and it's a connection. We have to remember that blood always. It's something very important for us. And we have to, you know, when you remember what happened to your people, you can understand what happens to other people. You can understand where you should stand, not as a revolutionary, as a human, as someone who has a culture behind him, who comes from somewhere, has a root. The thing with the roots is they need a lot of time to grow, and they grow slowly. But when they grow, they'll stay there forever.
Well, you know, the act of humanism is revolutionary.
Yeah,
To
it
be
is.
human is to be revolutionary. And this making these connections through time and space is very necessary to understand our condition, all of us living in this imperialist, capitalist realities. You know, we look at how if people remember moments of oppression like this, they can understand before it happens to them again how to stop it from happening.
And they can be ready for the new lies of another government, because lying is what they do. Their profession is lying. That's what the governments do.
That and the mainstream media that they own, the capitalists own.
We had today a press report from the Iranian embassy in Athens saying that the lies of Hasbara about Iranians preparing to hit Greece and Cyprus.
Oh yes, there's this story that just came out a couple of days ago of a supposedly Azerbaijani tourist in Khania on Crete beside the Soda NATO base, was filming the Soda base, and they're claiming that he's an Iranian spy. This is what you're talking about. The Hasbara trying to make a problem between Greece and Iran.
And they're trying to make people, because people are pro-Palestinian, so they saw the Iranian bombs as something justified. It was justice, you know? And now they want to say that the Iranians are bad guys, you know, they're not good people.
Yeah.
So we create something. But when the Americans are the bad people, no, we don't say that. In Khania, you were in Khania, right?
Yes, yes.
There's a synagogue which is very old. And back in the crisis days, they said that the Greeks were trying to vandalize it, to harm it. There were 2 American soldiers who did that. No. They sent them back to the United States because their exceptionalism is there. And nobody ever learned what happened. And if they were like, it was some, I don't know, punishment for them.
There's never punishment for these NATO American soldiers. We see, of course, the history of mass rapes of girls in Japan and Korea that are happening till today.
They went in a house of a Cretan because they were following his daughter, 14-year-old, 2 years ago.
Wow.
We have things like that happening in Crete. People know.
And there's laws that make it that the Greek government cannot prosecute these soldiers. They cannot touch them. They have to be prosecuted by their own military or state. To go back to the issue of journalism, because all this memory keeping and reality reflection is dependent on the journalists doing their duty of you know, providing this content and truth to the people. Since the junta ended, there was, of course, the crisis, the financial crisis.
It was a big problem.
And what happened to the
And then it
journalists?
was the American money, because 2013, after the crisis started, according to WikiLeaks, the Americans decided that they had to do something with anti-Americanism in Greece. So they put money in journalist schools. You know how it goes.
They sponsor the journalism school.
Of course, let's help love being spread, the love for the American people, you know, for the American government, for the American elite, whatever American. So, and there was a lot of money on that. And then a lot of journalists lost their job, and a lot of people have to survive and have their families. So, you know, I'm not going to judge anyone. Because if you have 3 or 4 children and you're the only one, the only bread maker at home, you know.
You do what you can.
Exactly. Yeah. But some of us are lucky, like having a husband like mine, and we can fight more. And that's why I have to talk about it. We created the Journalist Network for Palestine in Greece,
Yes.
which is something that I love that we do. We're about 100. Some of them are unemployed. Some of them are employed. And we're trying to keep the people informed on the reality of things. And we're all working gratis, of course. We're all working because we believe in what we do. And we're becoming journalists again because of that.
Yes. So before we get to the amazing work that you guys are doing, and of course, Gaza and the genocide in Gaza had a lot of effect on the journalists, and jobs and so on. But before that, there was the financial crisis and the Ukraine war,
Yeah, the Ukraine war.
which already showed how the mainstream media, government and corporate media will be butchering journalists in terms of their jobs and so on if they diverge away from the official story.
If you could tell to a journalist back when I was starting that someday they wouldn't allow you to read Russian media, to read what the Foreign Ministry of Russia says, he will say, impossible, those things don't happen. Now I need a VPN to learn what the other side says. And actually at the time, there were media here who were like Sputnik, who had a great condition, and there were colleagues who were working there. They were all fired, actually lost their jobs because Sputnik didn't want to fire them. The government decided that they have to go. And I have to say that according to stories, our union was very bad to them because they now have the unions with them. I mean, it's important to have silenced, the journalists silenced. And the story says that a very important person in the union told to those journalists that you're lucky that we're not taking your journalist cards from you.
The membership,
membership
cards.
And we allow you to still, and we're journalists for what? Same happened with Palestine. We will go to the unions and ask for, press releases, do something. Like 2 hours of work stoppage, nothing big, not to lose money, like strike, but something. And they will go like, oh, the European Journalists Union is doing that for us.
So nothing even symbolic they wanted to do. This reminds me, I was practically 5 times a week on Sputnik America, multiple shows, including, Dr. Wilmer Leon and others that would invite me on a weekly basis over the last 5-6 years. And the FCC, the Broadcasting Commission in the United States, received a letter of complaint from the congressman because Sputnik USA would broadcast in Washington and New York, and they told them the owner of the license is not Sputnik in the United States, it's a local license owner. They threatened the license owner to withdraw all his licenses across the US. He had tens of stations if he doesn't drop Sputnik Radio, and specifically they complained about my interviews, the interviews that I was doing. This is how crazy the situation is, and that shows you also how weak they are when they cannot stand one person even telling the truth about what's happening in Western Asia and North Africa. So the Ukraine war saw the shutdown of a lot of things. You're saying we can't access anything from enemy media, like from the Russian and Iran and others. And with
Thank
this
God
war,
for Telegram, for VPNs, for stuff. I mean, if you want to do your job as you used to do it just a few years ago, you need to be like a hacker or something. I don't know.
well, it's we're having to be revolutionary on many levels, and new skills. Keep on learning more new skills,
That's
like
true.
using this new equipment that we're using, and we have to keep up with the enemy, right?
Yes.
So the activities of journalists for Palestine that you're working with, how has it been since hundreds of journalists were killed in Gaza, tens of journalists were killed in
That's
Lebanon?
something. It's not that they killed journalists, our colleagues. They killed doctors. They killed workers in hospitals. They killed everybody whose voice will be considered important outside of Gaza. It's not journalism only. A doctor that talks, that's why they are torturing them. It talks about Gaza, some of the people who listened. They were killing the witnesses. The word martyr is the same word for witness and martyr. We have the same word, and it's a Greek word.
Also in Arabic, by the way.
Ah.
It's the same. The reason they're called a shaheed in Arabic is because they have witnessed the shahada, the crimes that led to their
So
martyrdom.
that's why they killed the journalists, that's why they killed the doctors. They knew that they will commit a genocide. They wanted to commit a genocide, so they had to kill the witnesses. That's what they did. And it was obvious from the start. And there's a moment where you say, basta, we have to do something here, you know? We have to do something here. And some of the colleagues started talking, like we had this small group and we have to do something, let's do it. And we gathered some money, we made a site, and then we decided, when the time came to present it to the people, to bring here Abu Bakr Abed. Because it's not us talking about Gaza. What we're trying to do is be the voice of those people. He's an incredible young man. He's a wonderful boy. All the blessings of God may be on him. I mean, we owe him much. He arrived here, he spoke, and the place was full. Full. They were standing, and he took reality, the word reality and truth to another level. Because, I have told him when we were discussing, I covered wars, yes, but I never covered the genocide or the killing of my own people. This is another totally different thing. It's different to go, of course we have empathy, but it's different to go to Serbia and see young mothers crying, and it's different if it's your people, if it's your friends, if it's your colleagues that died next to you, and you have to cover that. You have to talk about that. And then they will say, you're lying? Who?
That the weight of covering the genocide in Gaza and the war genocide in Lebanon on me is heavy. But you do numb yourself to try to push the voice of the people to the rest of the world. And sometimes simple things can trigger you, and all that wall of strength collapses, and you find yourself bawling like a little child for a long time. And
it happened to me after Serbia. I've witnessed something very heavy, continued to work for 20 days, did my job. When I arrived at the airport, my brother was waiting for me, fall in his arms. I don't remember anything. He told me, you were howling like a wolf. You have to take it off you, but it's very difficult. And it's good that we remember, and we ought to remember.
If the journalists don't do their work and job as they should, we see the civilians in this new age becoming unwillingly, without choosing to be, they become citizen journalists. And so in this new world of social media and mass censorship, algorithmic censorship, and blocking of websites and so forth, the role of both the community journalist and the citizen journalist becomes a life or death for all of our societies. What do you think your group, Journalists for Palestine, would be trying to do next?
We are working on some very important reports and research, and I'm not going to tell you what, because we are not. They will do something bad to us
yes.
if they learn what. But we're working on some important stuff all together, which is wonderful as a team, because there's a lot of research going on. And hopefully we will be the voice of our people. it's very important because right now, you wouldn't believe that, but the Greek people do not have a voice. Do not have a voice. When you talk to the people in the streets, they're totally different from the people that the TV shows or that the government talks about. We don't have a voice, so we have to create that voice. And Palestine saves us. Palestine saves the world right now. That blood of those innocent people saves us all. We're baptized in that blood, and we're not going to forget that our freedom is partly because of them.
Inshallah, we all achieve freedom, and people can continue reading your writings in the pressproject.gr. And for the Palestine, journalists for Palestine, where can they continue
You're going to
following?
put our site down there.
Yes.
Those who speak Greek can come and
Yes.
and the Canadian Greeks and stuff, if they want to learn good Greek,
Yes.
the right Greek,
Yes.
they can come and read us.
Which accent is the right Greek?
You know,
Because we're going to start a civil war right now.
you were in Crete, right?
Yes, that's the right one.
No, no,
All right. Well, I love hearing Greek. It's you know,
We are the same people.
same people. The whole Eastern Mediterranean history that's connected. Imperialism has separated us. We will hopefully have all the those watching follow up on all of the things that you're doing. Lamperini, Thoma.
They have to follow you. We follow you. So, you know, you're connecting us too.
That's the
And
thing.
not only you, other people like Dimitri Laskaris, who is Greek.
Yes,
Yeah,
and he's a
like,
friend
you know,
of mine for 2 decades. You know, me and Dimitri,
Yeah, the
we've done a
the
lot
good
of trouble.
Canadians.
Yes, the few good Canadians. No, I mean
No,
most
there's a
people.
lot of most people are good.
All of humanity, most of it is good people, and we're ruled, unfortunately, by ruthless monsters that not only separate us by our cultures and color and ethnicity, but also separate us by class and
I want
and
to
sex.
say something finally. I see I.F. Stone as my teacher in journalism. He used to say this: all governments lie, but disaster awaits those who smoke the same shit that they give to the people. Those are the Israelis right now. Remember that. We're in historical times, and all that blood will be the blood that gives water to the roots of freedom.
I think one of the main things that keep us going is knowing that the Zionists and the imperialists cannot change the course of history, time, and geography, and they are actually, the more vicious they are, the more clearly they are at the end of their rule. Judgment will come to all of them, and hopefully all of us here in Greece, in Palestine, all around the world will be celebrating our freedoms with the end of this era, 100 years of era.
I have an agreement with God. I'm not going to die before that.
Yeah.
So
And
you must make the same agreement. It's a good agreement.
I will pray that God basically listens and keeps you alive with us until we all celebrate that
Yes,
day.
yes.
Lamperini, Thoma, thank you very
Thank you
much
so
for
much.
giving us your time. I'm Laith Marouf. You're watching Free Palestine TV. Behind the camera is Rabieh Ghannam. Go to our website, freepalestine.video, to donate so we can continue bringing you this content. And also visit, if you are Greek in the diaspora, visit the website of the pressproject.gr to also donate, because we all need to own our media. We need to stop watching and financing the corporate and government media. And until we see you next time, we bid you all a free Palestine, free Greece, and a world free of imperialism, capitalism, and colonialism.